Hey guys, it's Generalkidd here. How's everyone doing today? So, now that Halo Reach has been out on MCC on both PC and Xbox for a while, we're going to be taking a look at what still works on Halo Reach on MCC and what doesn't work anymore. And we're going to start with what works worse on MCC, and then we'll get to progressively better and other stuff. But anyways, let's get right into it. So, the first thing that works worse on MCC compared to the original Halo Reach is the secret weapon crate, or secret ammo crate on the mission Pillar of Autumn. So, during this part of the mission, there's a little ammo crate in the wall here that you could punch out, and if you move the crate a little bit, there'll be a bunch of weapons and ammo on it that you can use. Some pretty useful weapons, actually, like the shotgun and DMRs. It comes in handy. However, this is on OG, on the Xbox 360 version. Now, going to MCC here, the weapon crate, it's still there. However, you know, it's still in the wall and everything. Once it comes out, though, it gets flung out super fast, and it kills you instantly if you're in its path, and it just gets flung like pretty far out of the map. So that's one thing that works worse on MCC. Next up, we have the Club Errera Easter egg. So this, you know, it still works fine for the most part. Both buttons still work. You could play the different kinds of music for this club. But there's a slight issue on the MCC version of the club Easter egg. So, like I said, everything still works fine. Everyone is still dancing. Just in case you don't remember this Easter egg, towards the end of the mission near Alexandria, if you hit like a button near the hospital, then you'll activate this Easter egg. And if you hit like another button at the top of this building, the Fire and Telecom Tower, that will activate a second musical Easter egg. Both of which you get achievements for, by the way. So, you know, it's definitely working fine. But actually pretty much every time, if you linger in here for a little bit, sometimes it happens like right away. The music will just randomly stop playing all of a sudden. Like you'll hear the record scratching sound, and then all of a sudden the enemies become alert and they start attacking you. That is not supposed to happen. That did not happen at all on the Xbox 360 version of Halo Reach. I mean, as long as you don't press the button, as long as you don't kill any enemies, they should keep dancing forever. They'll have their dancing animations and they'll never, you know, get out of it. The record won't scratch, the music won't stop playing. But for some reason, you know, on MCC, at random intervals, at random times, the music just stops. And if you watch in theater mode, sometimes while Grunt is dancing, it'll just randomly drop dead, which then causes the music to just suddenly stop. And then, of course, from there, all the enemies attack you. I have no idea why why a single grunt just drops dead sometimes, causing the Easter egg to end. I don't think every time it's a grunt dies. Sometimes I haven't been able to locate like a dead grunt, but for some reason that's just what happens. Now this next one, the AI difficulty. Technically you could say the AI works better, but as far as players are concerned, the AIs are a lot worse, as in difficulty wise. Now I personally, like my friend and I, we haven't really been able to notice this like outright, but there's a lot of posts about it out there, like Halo Waypoint posts. People have like comparison videos, you know, different like pieces of evidence. But apparently, on Halo Reach on MCC, especially on Legendary difficulty, but really any difficulty, the AIs are a lot more aggressive compared to the Xbox 360 version. And it's very noticeable during the Space Battle mission. A lot of people have been complaining that the Space Battle mission is way too hard now compared to OG. Like if you watch some old Legendary speed runs out there, there's a lot of videos out there, like tutorials and stuff, for like the best way to play through the mission Lone Knight of Solace, the Space Battle Legendary. And you can see, like, for the most part, people, they fly around pretty casually. But on MCC, if you do like the same steps and everything, you do the same tactics, you're pretty likely to get shredded apart by the Seraphs. They're very deadly on the Space Battle mission on Legendary on MCC. If you're not careful, then they'll like pretty much lock onto you and like shred you apart with their weapons. Whereas on MCC, on Xbox 360 version, they'll still shoot at you a little bit here and there, but they're not gonna like hunt you down and like rip you apart like crazy. On MCC, the best way to like solo Legendary apparently is to do like a lot of hit and runs, like guerrilla tactics. Like you hide behind a station or hide behind a ship for your shields to recharge, fly out, do some attack runs, and then fly back and hide. But apparently the difficulty is tied to the tick rate, which makes it a lot harder because it's double the tick rate now. So this next one, the concussion rifle, the fire rate, as well as other weapons actually, is affected by the new tick rate. And the concussion rifle is slightly slower now on MCC with the fire rate. So that's pretty much all there is to that one. Next one, this one actually caused a lot of issues on Halo Reach. You may have noticed that when you're on a vehicle or any other object that's moving upwards or even like forwards, your character tends to float on MCC. And you can see it like, we're riding on a Falcon or even in like an elevator on like a mission. Once it goes up, your character just starts floating on MCC. This is like a really weird physics bug, and it really does actually cause a lot of issues, which I'll cover in a bit. But just a quick comparison with the Xbox 360 version of Halo Reach. See, when I'm flying up, your character should not float. You should be able to stand just fine on whatever object you're on or vehicle you're on. And because of that, back then you could, have someone stand on top of your Falcon and hijack a Banshee and stuff like that. And, in elevators, you wouldn't be floating around either. Not that it really matters in an elevator, but, it's just one of the easiest way to notice the bugs, firsthand. But, like I said, this does cause a lot of issues, which brings us to our next topic, which is Warthog Launches. Warthog launching is a classic trick that's been around since, the first Halo game. And you basically use a Warthog with an explosion, in a nutshell, to launch your Spartan really far away or really high up, and lets you get to like far away places, or lets you, speed up your run if you're a speed runner. But yeah, so on OG Halo Reach, which is what we're at right now, you can see that this one version of the Warthog launch gets you really far out of the map, and you keep like flying out, and if you keep jumping, you keep going, and in just like a few seconds, you're really far to the map already from that one Warthog launch. However, on MCC, Warthog launches are a lot weaker. So, as you can see, that same launch tactic, you still get pretty far, but nowhere near as far as the Xbox 360 version of the launch. So here's another example of a different Warthog launch from their back. On the Xbox 360 version, you could reach really far and really high up places. As you can see here, we reached like this part of the mountain and safely landed. However, on MCC, the same launch doesn't get you very far. It's like a tiny fraction of the power of launches on the 360 version. So that's basically mostly what works worse. There might be a few other stuff, but that's the main stuff that I'm covering for this video. Next up, we'll be doing what doesn't work at all. So continuing from the that glitch where we stand on something, it causes you to float. That's essentially what makes Warthog launches a little weaker, that floating glitch. But aside from making Warthog launches weaker and from making you unable to stand on vehicles while they're moving, it also prevents you from doing the glitch to get out of the map to fly the Seraph on a mission Lone Knight of Solace. You may remember I've actually done that video a couple times where you get on this Pelican out here, and then you armor lock and you ride it out of the map to get outside, so you could walk all the way up to this place where the Seraph will be and then EMP it. Well, you can't do that anymore. So this was the original trick on a 360, and then from there you walk up the mountain. But if we go on the Xbox One version now, or even the PC version, MCC in general, if you do the armor lock thing, you can armor lock on a vehicle, but because of the floating glitch that you saw earlier, you can't stay in armor lock anymore. Once the Pelican flies up, it makes you float, which kicks you out of armor lock. And as a result, there's no way to get out of the map anymore to fly the Seraph on this mission. So that makes that glitch or trick doesn't work at all anymore. This next one's a small one, but hopefully it gets patched soon. This one is armor effects. So in Halo Reach on MCC, you can unlock armor effects and armor pieces, such as blue flames. However, armor effects don't apply to elites anymore. If you apply to the elite and you go in game, it just doesn't show up on your elite. Your elite's just regular. Whereas on OG Halo Reach, elites would have, armor effects, but not anymore. That doesn't work anymore. Alright, so this next one is actually one of my personal favorite glitches from way back in the day, and that is the overload glitch in Forge. I know there's other overload glitches in like campaign and other stuff, but I haven't really tested those out, so I'll only be focusing on the Forge one, because this glitch enables so many other glitches to happen in Forge. It was really great back in the day, but unfortunately, it also doesn't work anymore on MCC. Though technically, theoretically, it should still work, but it would take a lot more to work. But basically, on a map Forge World, this is like one of my oldest videos, like from way back, but if you make a box on this map and then you fill it up with vehicles and like, compress them all together, it'll make the map really, really, really laggy, which is good because that enables other glitches to happen. This is actually the exact same map I used in that video from like 2010. Thanks to Halo Reach maps and game types being ported over to MCC recently. Hopefully you all got your maps ported over. I was able to test the exact same map on a 360 version and on the Xbox One. So as you can see already, the glitch makes people weaponless sometimes. But the most significant side effect of the overload glitch is the ghost glitch, which one player randomly selected, when they switch to human mode, they become completely invisible and intangible. The other players in the game cannot perceive that player. And if that player, whoever's the ghost player gets in like a vehicle, the vehicle still looks like it's flying around, but it's like inactive. It's like the Falcon there, you see the cockpit was still open. In the case of the Banshee, same thing. The canopy is still up and everything. But, you can still do all the Banshee tricks. It's a really, really cool glitch, and I suggest you watch the original video of the Ghost of Forge World glitch. I did a couple versions of it, but overall, that's on the 360. On the Xbox One version and PC version for MCC, well, the Xbox One and most PCs are a lot more powerful than the 360, so overloading doesn't really work. In fact, the same map barely has an effect at all on the frame rate, especially on PC. So that's why it doesn't work. But theoretically, if you could add even more objects, then maybe you could still overload it. But for now, it just doesn't work anymore. And of course, without mods, you can't really add more objects. Now this next one, this is a classic trick you could do in Forge actually you could probably do it in custom games as well. But if you hold down the armor lock, if you're non-host, and you let it run out, but you keep holding down the X button, so you do the armor lock again, and then it brings you out, you'll technically have like a form of infinite armor lock, which, you don't see it, but it lets you walk through solid objects that have normal physics in the game. So as you can see here, these guys are walking through solid objects, like those crates. But if we go to MCC, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's Xbox or PC, it's all the same as far as like this video goes. On MCC, doing the same glitch, you can no longer phase through solid objects. Like you can see, like Photos Chaos here is trying. He's kind of like partially phasing through, but it's just not working. Doesn't work anymore. It's because the frame rate or the tick rate is making a lot more difficult to get through. Now this next one is the end credits of Halo Reach, or rather the lack of end credits. So when you beat the mission Pillar of Autumn, there'll be a scene here, remake scene from Halo 1. As the Pillar of Autumn flies towards the ring, there'll be credits popping up on the screen. Well, that was totally removed, and the cutscene cuts short. It cuts out that part, and it loads the next mission. But the credits probably had to be removed for numerous reasons. But yeah, so it's unfortunate, but I guess it had to happen. This next one is kind of minor, but I did want to point it out anyways. In the recent update, this isn't Reach specific actually, it's like all of MCC, but the ability to take screenshots in theater mode has been disabled. If you look in the bottom right, you can no longer take screenshots anymore. The little screenshot button is grayed out. You can't do it anymore. Which, it's not a huge deal. You could just use Game DVR instead. Just hide the menu and then take a screenshot with your Game DVR on your Xbox One. Or some screenshot program on your PC. Maybe like print screen it. But, it's just been disabled. And you can't even share screenshots anymore. It's been removed from your file share as well. Now, don't worry, if you did have screenshots in your file share, you can still access them on Halo Waypoint. Your file share section on Halo Waypoint still has all your saved screenshots. You just can't upload anymore from MCC, and you can't download anymore from MCC as well. So it's unfortunate that was removed, but I'm guessing it was just a low priority because game DVR screenshots do exist and you could share it on Xbox. But the reason why I bring this up is because normally in most cases it's not a big deal, but the lack of the theater mode screenshot capability, especially for Halo 3, is that you can't do the cutscene screenshot glitch anymore. Which, it's just a glitch, but it's still cool sometimes. During certain cutscenes, like the beginning of Cortana, when a Banshee's flying in, as you saw there, if you take a screenshot, it actually like reveals what's behind this like backdrop. Like you could see, like that other part of High Charity. That's not possible anymore because the screenshot functionality was removed. Game DVR is not going to cause that glitch to happen. So unfortunately, that's one thing that doesn't work anymore. Alright, so let's get into what does work better now on Reach for MCC. There's actually quite a few interesting ones too. So first one here is on OG Halo Reach. You may have noticed this, but if you have someone get into the passenger seat of pretty much any truck in the game, the door does not open. Instead, your Spartan kind of just phases through the door. And yeah, you just don't open it whether you get in or out. However, on MCC, that has been fixed. Now the animation to open the door does work, so when you get in and out, you actually do open the door correctly, instead of just phasing through the door. So that's one thing that actually works better on MCC now. Another thing, kind of like with the concussion rifle issue earlier, the fire rate of the DMR is now faster on MCC, compared to OG Halo Reach. Now, you could say that's worse, because it's not OG anymore, when it should be as close to OG as possible. But technically a higher fire rate makes the weapon better in some cases, so arguably it's something that works better now, even though it's unintentional. Now this next one is another one I personally like that works better now. So on OG Halo Reach, you used to be able to use a button combo to lower your weapon. However, you could not do that over Xbox Live. You'd have to be local or System Link. Actually, I don't remember working on System Link at all, but at least on local, you could do it, but definitely not Xbox Live. But lowering weapons, it's a little cool tricky to do, and it's great for machinimas as well. However, like I said, it doesn't work on Xbox Live, so you couldn't do it with friends at the time. But now on MCC, that restriction has been removed, and you can now do lowering weapons over Xbox Live. Now, similarly to lowering weapons, there was also another button combo that you could use to activate Pancam coordinates, which you can see in the top left here. So Pancam still works, and it now works on Xbox Live, where it used to be not able to be used over Xbox Live. However, while the coordinates do work, if you're playing in 4K, the coordinates are pretty small, as you can see there. And another thing is, if you want to use the actual Pancam function in theater mode, that only works for campaign under certain circumstances. So in a way it does work better, in other ways it's a little more limited now. But this next one is actually a very useful one, especially if you're a speedrunner. So on Mission Long Night of Solace, the scene after this scene, like the one where you're landing on the Falcon, you used to not be able to skip this cutscene. It used to be like totally unskippable. But now you actually can skip it, which saves you a lot of time. Why would you want to skip a great cutscene? Well, sometimes you just want to hurry up and do something, or if you're doing a speed run, then you don't want to have to sit through it every time, because it does waste time in some cases. But that cutscene is skippable, and now this whole launch cutscene is also skippable, which also used to not be skippable on the Xbox 360 version. So definitely a big improvement there, and I'm sure a lot of people will definitely appreciate that new functionality and feature. Alright, so this next one is pressure launches. This works a lot better. It's got like the reverse of the Warthog launch, where it worked better on 360. This actually works better on MCC now. So here's one example of a pressure launch you could do on the 360 version on a map on a mission to package. You could see, you just jump in a hole, and then if you do the launch correctly, it will fling you out, and you get flung the fair distance. So we're gonna do it twice just so you could get a better idea of what it's like. But yeah, you get flung a pretty good amount. You even die from fall damage. However, on MCC, doing the exact same pressure launch, it's a lot more powerful now, and you get flung super high up and super far. you could probably even like hijack a Banshee by doing this. But yeah, so pressure launches are a lot more powerful on MCC. Now, this one particular example of a pressure launch, this is on OG Halo Reach. This actually does not work on MCC, surprisingly. But this is like the one pressure launch that works worse on MCC, or really doesn't work at all. You could see, you know, going in, doing the exact same trick, nothing happens. Sometimes you get pushed out a little bit, but overall it doesn't work. But it's another pressure launch on a different part of the map, the same map where, you know, it works on 360 version, but just like the other one, overall, it works better on MCC. It's a lot more powerful on MCC. You get flung out a lot quicker and farther, and to the point where you even take damage from like hitting the wall too fast. So, yeah, it's just you know, it's just that one exception so far where it doesn't work on MCC better. But everything else, even like pressure launches involving elites, work better on MCC. So here's another example on a 360. You get flung back pretty far there. You know, good distance, fair speed. But on MCC, it's even better. You get flung further and faster. And if you're not careful, you go too fast, hit a wall, you'll die. But yeah, it's, you know, pressure launches are really useful for a lot of situations, but now they're a lot better on MCC. Likewise, another launch that's better on MCC is Banshee Launches. This one, you also go, what I've been told, is a lot easier now, and you go a lot higher, a lot quicker too, because it's a lot more powerful. But yeah, so aside from Warthog launches, a lot of other launches actually do work better on MCC now. It's just the Warthog launch had a weird floating physics glitch that prevents it from working correctly. So that's what works better. Now let's go over a few other things, some of the more popular, iconic things that, you know, still work just fine, you know, work the same, no other issues. This one particular glitch is a hole on a map, Boardwalk. This little window here, you can actually shoot through it, and it still works on on Xbox One, on MCC and PC. You can still shoot the window and get kills through it, but with projectile weapons only. If you try to throw other things through, like grenades, the window is still solid. But you can shoot through the window and even be shot through the window, and that has not been changed or fixed at all on the MCC version of Halo Reach. Next one is the GRD Dolls Easter egg. This is a little fun Easter egg you can do on all the anniversary maps. I'm only going to show one map as an example because it does work on all the maps that have GRD dolls. But the GRD dolls are like these little hidden dolls with the GRD helmets on that you could find on all the CEA anniversary maps on Reach. So those dolls are still there and work fine. They haven't been removed or changed or anything. Likewise, on the map Penance, the Grunt in the Barrel Easter egg also works. I wasn't sure this one worked at first because I did a whole setup to see if it's still there, if it still works, and I literally waited like almost an hour, like over 40 minutes for the Grunt in the Barrel to drop down. So on this map, the middle waterfall, if you wait long enough, eventually a Grunt will drop down. A Grunt in a wooden barrel will drop down the middle waterfall and land in your contraption that you've built. But as you can see, it took like 38 minutes or so for the Grunt to finally drop down. And, you know, for the first 38 minutes, I was starting to think that wasn't going to work. But it drops down at random intervals. Sometimes it happens quickly. Sometimes you have to wait a while. And in this case, I did have to wait a while. But eventually, the Grunt in a Barrel Easter egg did drop down, and it still works just fine. Although, you know, I could have sworn a lot of people back in the day said you only have to wait like 5 to 10 minutes. So I don't know, like, if waiting like over half an hour is like something that makes this work worse, or if I was just really unlucky. But, you know, it works, and the Grunt has been modified in any way. It's still the same. You know, so far nothing changed about it, but yeah, it's just, you know, the weird thing I had to wait so long for it, but that could be the way it's supposed to be. This next one, I was actually a little worried at first this might be removed, but on the CEA maps, on every CEA map actually, there's a picture hidden somewhere in the map, a picture of the original map from, you know, Halo 1 back in the day, in the original graphics, which you can see here, for example. I was actually worried these might be removed because, you know, back in the ODST, some things were actually removed or changed, like the Mardo Dono Easter egg was changed. all the Destiny posters were removed and changed for legal reasons, obviously. So I wasn't sure like so this would also be changed like ODST, but fortunately it wasn't. It's still the same, you know, as the OG versions. Now this next one is our old classic time travel glitch, which, you know, it's really just a glitch to get out of the map and, you know, skip different load zones, but we've always liked to call it a time travel glitch just because, you know, it's fun to call it that and it sounds cool. But anyways, this is the one where you use the plasma pistol to knock down this Falcon that is part of the mission. We're not going to go through a whole tutorial of it. You could, you know, check out those old videos of mine if you want to see the tutorial. But, you know, I'm just showing you guys that it does still work. You could still knock down the Falcon through the glitch, and you could still fly the Falcon and everything. And of course, the main part of it was we use the Falcon to wedge ourselves between the Spirit up ahead, and the Spirit will basically carry the Falcon out of the map through the barrier, which we can use to skip pretty much a huge chunk of the mission, which I will show you now. So overall this glitch works the same, but I've actually had a little bit of a debate with this with some people, but I think it actually kind of, some people actually think it kind of works better, and not like drastically better, but on the original version of Halo Reach on 360, later on when we pass through the barrier up ahead, sometimes there's a chance you could die from it, you know, and take massive damage. But on MCC, so far, I've passed through the barrier pretty much unscathed in most cases. Sometimes I do take like full damage, all my health and shields go down, but I've never once died from going to the barrier. So I also heard from some people saying that like it's actually easier now to go through barriers on the MCC version of Halo Reach. So this may be one example of that. We're going to the barrier, you know, I'm not likely to die as much as on OG. But that's I don't really have any hard evidence of that, so that's kind of subjective at the moment, just like, you know, from observations and hearsay. But, you know, it might actually work better. But for now, for the most part, everything works the same with it. You could still, you know, skip to this part of the mission. Alright, for this next one, this is another classic and famous Halo Reach Easter egg. This one works just as well, and that is the ability to, the Easter egg to fly, to change your Falcon or Banshee into a Pelican and Phantom respectively. This one still works perfectly, the trigger still works, you know, everything works fine. I guess the only thing you could say that doesn't work as well anymore is, well, it really depends, but, you know, to do the Phantom, you have to use the Banshee to fly through. And to get a Banshee, well, it depends how you do it. Sometimes people have someone stand on top of the Falcon, and you know, they hover the Falcon near a Banshee, and the person standing on top will jump up and grab the Banshee. But that doesn't work anymore because, you know, that physics glitch where you float on the Falcon, you can't stand on it anymore. You'll slide right off because you're floating on it. So that might make it slightly tricky. You'll have to find another way to easily get a Banshee, but there's plenty of ways to get a Banshee. So really, overall, it works the same, and that's like indirectly affecting it anyways. Now this next one is the Reach Racer Easter egg. Again, this one also works fine, and you know, there's even an achievement associated with it. But you know, like I said, I wanted to get through all the more iconic Easter eggs in the game and show that all of them are still working just fine, and don't really have many issues with them. Only a couple do, like you saw earlier, but this one works just as fine. And you know, you can still have a lot of fun with it, race your friends. Everything totally works fine on it. Now, this next one is a small little trick you can do, which actually can be used for a lot bigger things. But on the space battle part, if you're doing it on co-op, when you die and you respawn, if you hold down your B button or whatever button you use to get in vehicles, right when you spawn, you can actually climb out of your saber. And if you do it correctly, actually, you could survive and do a lot of things with it. Like at the very end of the next part, the escort part, you could like get back in and fly around and explore when you're not supposed to, or you could even use it to fly a space Banshee. But that's a whole nother trick from some other people that you can check out too. But anyways, the next Easter egg we're going to show you guys is the secret Banshees. This one also works just as fine. Nothing particularly extra challenging about it. Nothing changed. Just you know, 2 players, both people hit the switch at the same time, or around the same time, and it spawns the 4 Banshees up top. And you know, that all works perfectly well as as well. So no other changes there. But, you know, the Banshees are still useful, and you can still do it on easy difficulty, which I do want to clarify there. I remember back in the day, some tutorials said you had to do it on like Legendary or some other harder difficulty, but you can still do it on easy difficulty. That hasn't changed at all. So if you want to do that, feel free to do it on easy. Now the last thing I'm going to show you guys that still works just as fine is the famous Tribute Room Easter egg. So this one still works fine. You know, hit the button out there. I don't think it's particularly extra challenging or anything, but you know, gotta do it on Legendary. Hit the button, kill the elite zealots here, or generals or whatever, and once they're all dead, just go inside this room here, and once you get to the door, you will teleport into the tribute room. So if you don't remember what this is, the tribute room is a little secret room. It's actually the cutscene room at the end that's used, you know, when they're talking to Halsey and they see Cortana, but it's also the room where Bungie put a lot of you know, references to like old Halo games and other stuff, you know, hence tribute room. It's also called the Bungie room sometimes, but you know, there's a lot of stuff here, and I'm glad none of it was removed actually, like, you know, like some stuff in ODST. The tribute room is still perfectly intact, works the same, everything is still here, nothing was changed, everything is still original. So yeah, there you guys have it. That is pretty much a lot of stuff that doesn't work anymore on Halo Reach or works worse, as well as a lot of stuff that works better and, you know, still works just as fine despite the changes on, you know, frame rate and stuff. But anyways, hopefully you guys found this to be interesting, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. Leave your thoughts and comments, anything else I missed, or any other like major glaring things that you want me to check out or look into, just let me know, and I'll do my best to look into it. But aside from that, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys!